this one. Huh. All right. You've seen the Wi-Fi password? Okay. Hey guys. Hello. Do you all have internet now? What are you guys doing over there? Hi. Do you still have any problem with the computer? Okay. Hi, Lan. Come on in. All right. So today, we'll cover these topics. It's about things outside your MVC framework. And I hope that even though you have a lot of experience, even though you have little experience, everyone will benefit, right? We'll learn a few new things today. One of them, we'll start by doing database, then we talk about mailers, background processing, deployment, monitoring, performance, logging, tracking, and then charting, analytics, all of that. So if we have time, we can do all of those. That's pretty crazy, right? So let's see. And I'm going to start with the chat app that we start where we stopped last time. So I'll just check out I'll just check out the previous spot. So what's that? Git reset hard. All right. So here's what I have so far. The chat app I did in class, right? Add we'll see what it looks like. Start the server, and I'm recapping the concept for those of you who are still not clear about how to implement the socket thing in class. So localhost. Now, hey, today we can actually see the border. It's a great improvement. So here, I've added a few things. It looks a lot smoother now. Like you can delete a message. I want to cover how this is done. Okay. Very quickly, let's cover how that is done. When you add a message, can you guess how that is done? Like we use a form for message, right? So let's look at the home page. Here, if the user is signed in, I have this a standard form. Send a message. So after you implement this form without remote true, everything will work just like this, right? But then you want it to not reload the page, so you add remote true, right? And notice in my chat, I'm not doing anything with that form. The only thing I do is to clear the value after I send a test. Hello, right? I clear this value. So I introduce a new concept right from this code. The first one is, where do I notify other browsers? So this is one. Let's look at these other guys. If I click here, if I type something here, right, it shows up. This guy is not logged in, so this guy cannot delete. This guy tried to delete a message, and then, that guy can't delete it. We'll go back up. So how do we implement that? One more time, if we go to the form for a message, you submit the message, nothing crazy there. It goes to message create action. Now in message create, it goes here, right? Format.js. And let's see what I'm doing in here. So if the message is valid, okay? If the message is not valid, I'm not doing anything. If it's valid, what I'm doing is that I just render this whole new message as HTML and I send it to each browser. So this is here where it's a nice spot where you can cheat by telling Rails to render the entire message in HTML, and then you send it to the server, to each browser, right? So let's go to the browser code. Browser is under chat socket, right? Where is that code? On message, right? All right, let's make it here, chat. Actually, it's very hard for me to see from this angle. Okay, all right. So notice when a browser receives a message, I just checked that there are a few types of message now. When you create a new message, I send an HTML content to it, and I say send an event, create. It's just anything. I send something that say that's a message create, and in here, I use jQuery to say this is a CoffeeScript, right? But in JavaScript, you can write something similar, and you basically add this content. The way I do it in jQuery is that I create this content. This is message ID and everything, message div. I hide it and I append it to messages and I slide it down. So if you type anything like that, this, right? I type the word this and send. Notice that each client, each browser receive a message event here, and in data, that's the content. So the content was just added to these messages and then slide down. Any question about that? Now when I delete, I send another message. Obviously, if you open this, you see the same thing. You receive the second message. This is delete. And in delete, event delete here, I only send the ID where I need to delete. So here's the code. When you delete a message, it's under destroy. When you go to destroy action, you destroy the message, and I just need to send the ID of the message, and I use DOM ID to create message underscore ID here. Now what we're doing down here is that in messages, you find the element with message underscore 85. So after that, you find the message row, the HTML. So I'm calling jQuery to say slide up. After I finish sliding up, hiding it, I just remove it quietly in the background. So why do I have to do this? Well, this is to create a very smooth experience. When I say hello here, I click send. The first thing that it's doing is it add the message to this browser. At the same time, it send the message to the other browsers, and the other browser execute their include the HTML accordingly. But notice I have to send to all the browsers via the Rails server. I go back to Rails server first. Now, here's the question. If I go back to the Rails server first and then it render everywhere here, I actually don't need to do anything. This should also show up because this browser is also one of the clients. How can I make it display so fast, right? Why so fast? You see it immediately. Where's that code, guys? Do you know it? Does anyone know where the code to display the message immediately is? So this is a new concept here. Last time, I introduced something called form new message on submit. So at that time, if you use event.prevent default, do you remember that one? It will prevent the form from being submitted, right? So I have a better way here. A better way here is let the form submission go on as usual because you use remote true. So I actually have a few more events I can bind it with. So here is what I'm doing with that. If you click on this source code and you go to this page, when you perform an Ajax request, so a form is a data remote true, right? When you perform that, you have these events. So that's great. You don't have to bind on submit by on these guys. So if there's a success, it means the form has been submitted, created, and the JavaScript has been sent to all the clients, right? This means the create.js.erb file has been done. Then I just say, okay, right? Remove all the text in this input field. That one makes sense, right? So when this is done, it removes all the code here. So then you get an empty thing. Now, where's the code that make it really fast to see the message added? So you can actually do that. For example, I think this is very fast. So let's make this query really slow. So sleep. I'm going to sleep for 2 seconds. Okay, right before I save and I sleep. So let's say this is going to be slow. Let's look at this guy and this guy. Okay, bottom, you ready? Send 1, 2, and then display at the same time. So if it's really that slow, what I want is that this one has to be very fast. How do we do that? So last time we bind the on submit method. So technically you have Ajax success here, Ajax error here. I can do another one, Ajax what's before we submit. We can try these things before you send it, or even before. So when the request is sent. So let's say as soon as I can send it to the server, right? As soon as I send it, I'm just going to append something. Here are the here's the argument XHR, and I'm just gonna add something to messages. Normally you can actually add the message data itself. So maybe messages dot, actually I can do that, right? Append div class message. What is in this message, guys? Plus the message content is in this input, right? Input message content dot value dot, I'll just close this div temporarily. That's what I do. So I can say add this before you even finish getting to the server. So let's try that. So remember, it takes 2 seconds, right? 2 seconds. And what happens? Oh, I need to return something. Let's just before do something simpler. So, uh-oh. What's happening? Oh, I'm going to messages. All right, let's try again. Test, send. Well, this messes with the flow, the token. If I really want this to work right now, I could try going messages, skip action. What's that? Protect. I think it's in controller. This one. Let's see. That's really strange. Binding it to send actually mess it up. Alright, so this is invalid JavaScript. But if you actually have it as a valid JavaScript, what's wrong here? Append. Does it look okay? Huh? Oh my god. It's so hard for me to see like on this screen right now. Okay, so one more time. Before. Alright, so you see before being added there, and eventually before being displayed. So this technique is called optimistic UI updates. You know that the browser, the server will save. Most likely it can happen. That's the technique. So you don't have to focus on this, but you can do it to improve the experience. And do it one step at a time. Always prioritize what's more important. So one more time, we go back to create, and after you run create.js here, it involves all the sockets, right, in the clients. Cool. So let's move on to improve this app. Let's improve it. The first thing we're going to try doing is we're going to push it to Heroku and get the data. Has anyone tried PG push and PG pull? No one? Okay. All right. Let's try it right now. So I don't need any of this. I just remove it. Code is clean. I need to run Heroku. So let's familiarize ourselves with Heroku a little bit. If you run Heroku PG, that gives you the information of the database that you're using. PG PostgreSQL version and the size data size so far. When this get big, you have to start playing, and this is no longer hobby dev, right? Now a cool one is PG push. I want to push this to local to Heroku, and what I mean is I'm going to say this message is from my local database. All right, so I have that. Now I want it to show up when I do Heroku open. I want the database to be exactly the same. And a lot of time you want this, right? When you submit your homework, sorry, I didn't show you this earlier, but here's the source database and target database. So what is my source database? It's the name of my local database. Where do I find that? It's in database YAML, right? And then you have to find it under development. And it's quite easy. It's the name of your app underscore development. So that's okay. Chat demo development. So you can do this. Grab database. No, that's a bad idea. Grab, yeah, just then it's right here. Okay, or grab development. Maybe that's faster, right? So great. I need development. I need the remote target database. Does anyone know which one it is? So there's one very powerful thing is Heroku config. When you add any add-on, work on your project, you have to work on this a lot. And it's a great way to store, use information, secret keys, password, of API key, right? You don't put that in your code. You put it in Heroku config. So here's the database URL. If you run any of the local database GUI graphical application, you can actually connect to this database if you want. Here's the data, right? You actually can see that's the password, that's the username, that's Postgres. But what I want here is very simple. I just type database URL and Heroku automatically understand that. But this is not good enough. It will complain because it say must be empty. So remote database is not empty. Heroku PG reset. A lot of time when you push to Heroku, you may have some problem. And one of the ways is to say Heroku, just throw away my database, start again. You do Heroku PG reset database URL. One more time, Heroku database URL. It will point you to the correct app. And if you Google online with Stack Overflow in places, people do like pink database, orange or something. That's no longer the case. That's true in the past. But right now it's always this database URL. So what's happening here? It just say, hey, I'm going to delete everything. Are you sure? Type the name of your app, okay? Of course, you can run confirm, but don't do that. So reset. Now I have a completely empty database, and now I can push to Heroku, right? What happens there? Connection failed. What happened? So Rails console. I have a local database, right? Message.count. Okay, great. So I should be able to push. Client error. Database does not exist. Oh, geez. Sorry about that. It say, well, what are you talking about? That's not the right database name. Great. So PG push. Are we clear on that? It's 2 steps. I'll share you the notes. But that's how you push the data to database. And think about what's doing under the hood there. It's pushing MySQL. MySQL is actually simpler. PostgreSQL is more complicated with all the permission handling schema that they have. I find that this ends up being the best way. So let's open Heroku. So now I do Heroku open. And if we're lucky, this message is from my local database. Wow, so this is from production. How do I pull it down to my local machine, guys? How do I put it down? So we use pull. And never be afraid, right? We can actually do this and see the syntax. But notice we have to read it say this has to already this must not already exist. So before you can do this, you have to do rake db drop. And before you can run rake db drop, you have to cancel your Rails server. So it will complain, and I'm going to cancel my Rails server. Nothing is, make sure nothing is using, right? It was just complaining cannot drop, and now I can drop. Cannot drop because I still have one more console here. Now I can drop. So one trick is that Rails run something underneath with Spring, but never mind. I'll explain that next time. So now you can drop, and we're gonna do Heroku PG pool. What's the syntax? What's the syntax we just saw? Target from remote first. So what is my remote database URL? Chat demo here, right? Development. So if you want, you can write a shell script. Of course, it sounds quite dangerous, but my shell script is I can put in a bin folder. Look at this structure, right? There's a bin folder. So if I want, I can create a new file called push to Heroku.sh, and in here I'll just say Heroku pg reset database URL. Be very careful when you use this, and then if that's success, right, and it is successful, then you just do Heroku pg push chat demo development database URL. You see, like this is and then from then on you can change this file to push to Heroku. So next time you just need to run, bin/push, and then you type enter. Of course, there's a confirmation message. If you don't want that confirmation message, you already know how. Wait, not that one. You basically add one more down here. Confirm. If you set up your test server, you could also use Heroku. Confirm what? What's the chat admin? Coder School Ruby 4, and that's it. I confirm. If I run this right now, not that one. Sorry, I can't see this screen. We'll take a break so I can read. All right, change my seat. So I run right now. It just run automatically. You can do the same thing with your local. All right, so that is the most convenient way. However, there's also PG backups. That's wonderful. When you start using your code to have more users, that's not what you want. What you want is PG backups. And PG backups provide you this API to capture your data. And then you capture that as a dump into a database SQL dump. So curl-o just mean write to a file, and backtick here just mean run this command line. And so there's a syntax. If you do this, it will return you. It will back up the data to a URL. Let me just run this, and then it tells you that you can capture. So I capture first. I have to capture I run a backup. Right? This allows you to have multiple versions of your database. Sometimes at each milestone, if you want to store it, when you start having 100 user, 1 million user, this is a good way, right? So Heroku store it somewhere for you, and then you say public URL. It just get the last backup, this B001. Ving. Hello. All right, and then it gives you. It's so nice. It gives you this for free. It put it on Amazon S3 very quickly. Right, you have this URL, you have the access for like half an hour or so, and then now with this URL, imagine I run this URL. Of course, you can click on it and then go to the browser and download it. But I can curl this URL and then I say output to my dump file, and that will do the downloading. Right, I get to this dump file. I can share it with my friend, and then my friend can just say pg backup restore. So there is a PG restore, which is a PG tool. Now you have dump, so PG restore, right? So I can restore from this dump file I just had, this dump file. The problem is you have to remember to pass in these things. So this copy and paste, and so I just show you a different way. PG restore, a different way to clone it back to my database is chat demo development. Right now I need to pass in the dump file, so that's the dump file, and then the last one is just dump. So that's the same as PG pull. Now how can we do something for PG push? Now here's the problem. Heroku doesn't let you upload a file, right? So I have this dump file. That's not good enough. So you can put it on Dropbox or somewhere other server you want, but to import into Heroku, it say this: you will need to upload it somewhere via HTTP so that you can do that with Heroku. So here, S3, once, if you haven't used it before, eventually doing web, you have to learn it. It's just Amazon, AWS is the most popular web services and provide a lot of things, including S3 is for storage. So you can create an S3 account, you can use the command line, but now you have this file. Let's say you uploaded it up there in your bucket. It's called me bucket here and items folder. And now you have the file path. So that's how you do PG backups restore. This is what I used to do all the time. And I write cron job to run the backups before they had this, that's still more powerful, right? And recently they had PG push and PG pull. That's cool for very convenient push. But if you want to make sure your data is safe, keep different version, run a backup every day or every night or every month, this is the way to do it. And I shared online to understand how people do it. This is the same idea. This guy did exactly that, but he put it in a rake task. So very quickly, we cover those three guys. YamoDB is a different way. If you suddenly want to change from PostgreSQL to MySQL, or if you want to change from MySQL to PostgreSQL, if your local database is different, if you cannot install PostgreSQL and then you use SQLite because your laptop may give you some problem, this is one way. It's more advanced than your regular fixtures. You can use this gem to export all your data into YAML files. You can have one YAML file per table, or you can have one table for everything, data.yaml for all the database, or you can have it in a directory. The cool thing is, before you export or import, you can just go into this file and change the content. You can change the text, the message, and then you export and import. So you don't have to do it via Rails. If you use the first three methods to change the content without Rails, then you have to use an application that open your database. For example, there's many of them, right? You type Postgres GUI app, and there's one app that I like. It's very simple. It's pSQL. Okay, so it's similar to how they make Postgres app. It's an app that run your Postgres on your Mac, and pSQL is a great way to read the database for you. Great. So that's database. Any question about databases?
Yeah, I have.
Yep.
So instead of having the S3 bucket, is it possible that we create a localhost to one more databases? We import the MySQL and we import the SQL down to the databases, like helper database, and we use this database to do PG push. In that way, we don't need.
Yeah, you can do that, but yeah, you cannot use MySQL kind, right? If you do anything from MySQL to Postgres, then you have to look at the fourth option. But yeah, okay.
I just say MySQL by accident.
Yeah, okay. That's a good question. The question is, if you do it this way and when you push, yeah, so the three step is this. First, you do the first step is, this is your first step, PG capture, right? And then second step, downloaded it to a dump file. Third step, restore it to your local database. This is restore. And fourth step is PG push. Yeah, so PG push, it's the same thing as this, not this one, but it's the same thing as this. Okay?
Yes, but PG push we need already set the database instance.
Yeah.
With these options, we just need to copy the LAM file in a bucket in a S3.
Yeah. Yeah. So this any way you want. So this way, some of you may have your own server. You just put it on your public access folder, and then the file is there. Yeah, but or you can just restore to your machine and then PG push. Okay. Any other questions about database?
What is the advantage of PG over MySQL? Because on Heroku, because I used to use this and it's quite complicated to dump and then to restore. So
Yeah.
I just use MySQL workbench admin and
Okay.
with a GUI. So
Okay.
what's the advantage?
Okay, good question. Who here likes to use MySQL? All right, no one, right? Okay, you. So my advice is PostgreSQL is usually better. Well, it just make your life easier over time. The most annoying thing is this one, which is the permission stuff. You cannot just put your PostgreSQL database from one place to another. It has to redo some of the permission thing. But other than that, it's great. Set up, on your machine. Make sure you understand how it works, and then your life is easier from that then on. Now, if you use MySQL on Heroku, to save time, you should actually also use MySQL. But then the support is not as great.
They don't have PG search.
They have PG search is one. PostgreSQL just have way more features, and they also have a lot of development. If you're really lazy, guys, use the JSON data type. Immediately you have your document database. A lot of projects I just store one or two JSON column, and I don't care what's the structure, and I can still access all the code. So if you use MySQL, you have to use an add-on, right? Amazon RDS, just in general, yeah. It's I had a startup with like 500,000 users 5 years ago, and I was using MySQL, and then MySQL never get any upgrade. We were trying different things. We also upgraded to MariaDB, which is just a variant of MySQL. Eventually, we had very good reason to change to PostgreSQL after analyzing things. But Sun manages MySQL, and Postgres just tend to get really good updates, and people tend to love Postgres now. So, okay, it's just easier for you to work with a lot of developers who like new technologies. All right, Mailer. Let's do something with Mailer. For this app, I'm going to create a mailer to send me a message when someone delete my message. Okay, send me an email. All right, how do we do mailer, guys? Rails generate. Can anyone help me? Mailer. So where is it stored? Do I have anything already? Nothing. So good. Rails generate mailer. We'll name it like as user mailer. Even if you already know stuff here, hopefully there's still something new for you. User mailers, I say notify deleted message. Okay? Notify deleted message. And that's enough. I have one method. Let's cover mailer. Mailer is cool. Now, what's the first annoying thing about mailer that you can tell me right now?
I can tell a lot, not just one.
Okay, give me one.
It can land in the spam folder. I cannot.
Okay, so that's about receiving mail.
Yeah.
What about coding the mail feature? What's the first annoying thing? Authentication. Coding it though. I'm just coding. I just want an email to be sent. Let's look at the mailer I just generated. This is the first annoying thing, right? If you look at this guy, slowly, why the hell do I have two files, right? So when you send an email, you have to support two types, and that's when we have that's one annoying thing. So what's the second annoying thing? What's the second annoying thing? There's so many annoying things. Come on, when you try an email, like, have you done emailing in your app? Yeah.
The client.
Huh?
The client. You have to format it for each client.
a client. Okay, but in this case, it's only two formats.
Encoding.
Huh?
Encoding can
Huh?
have problem. Then V64 or some kind of encoding maybe.
Encoding. Okay, that's one way. But here's very simple, guys. How do I test this guy? How do I test my emailing? Isn't that annoying? How do I test it? Does anyone know how to test it? I just generated this. Now I should be able to send an email, right? Let's see. Where's my Rails log? Here's my, okay, let's put the Rails log over here. Look at my Rails log, okay? So, okay, I hope it's there. I'm just gonna test it in a different place. Log is on the left. That's a development log. And on the right, I'm going to go to the Rails console. Okay, so the first thing in there is we want to call user mailer dot what? Notify user mailer dot notify, and then we have to implement that method first. So let's do that. Mailer user mailer. All right, this guy. We have to send this email. It's already done for us. So let's run it. User mailer dot notify deleted message. Enter. Do you see what happens? You actually see it in the log, right? It says, oh, well, this is nothing yet. It's basically rendering your email, how it's running both HTML, text, and then it returns this mail. How do you send the email, guys? I have this mail. How do I send it? Deliver now or later. Which one? All right, let's look at the log. This is my log right here, right? Let's deliver it now. So when you look at it, deliver now, it's sent, this is the mind part, and you send a plain text format, this guy, and then HTML format, this guy. Okay, so how do I know if it works? Well, so yeah, it doesn't print to my log, so that's ugly, but normally it should. So I just deliver an email. How do I know that my HTML file looks good? Do you know? Well, that's hard. So what's your trick, guys? Like, how do you test your email? Okay, so let's try the first easiest way, right? Like letter opener. This way, they say, well, in development, you can use letter opener, and just copy this whole thing so I don't have to put it in a block. Let's try this. Letter opener. Let's run the same thing again. Actually, I don't know why I quit. Oh yeah, because I need to run bundle. So what is letter opener? Has anyone used it? Okay, well, all it is that it stores your message in a temp folder, and then it uses the browser to open it. It uses Mac, or sorry, this is Mac only, to run Launchy and open it. So we'll try, all right? So I did exactly user mailer dot notify deleted message. Enter. Well, this is not working yet because we have to tell it to use letter opener as my delivery method. So go to development, and I paste this in here. Delivery method, letter opener. Reload the Rails server. I have to load this one more time. User mailer dot notify use deleted message. Oh, it's not working. Is there anything else I need to do? Oh, I keep forgetting to deliver now. All right, boom. All right, nice. So every time you test your app locally, it just run that. You trigger like sign up, and then it will run that as well. Like, you know how if you set your device to do it, and then if you sign up as a user, let's see, I will sign up. I hope that I've already configured it in my device. So device, there's an email there. So where's my device settings? Under initializer, device, and there's a word mailer somewhere. So config mailer sender there, and I think there's something that say like the host URL. But anyway, I just try it. I haven't tested it. Okay, so let's say I have this user, and then I send. So if I think device right now is not configured to use email yet. But if you tell it to use email, you will, after you sign up, you see another tab opening right away that say, hey, here's your email. Please confirm it. Oh, user model. And then you can also, you can actually say confirmable up here, right? So you want to enable something that enable the email. Okay, back to our mailer. Well, that's cool. I can see my HTML. Where's my plain text? That's like, how do I test that? Okay, so a lot of you may have that, and it's kind of cool. That's to test your letter opener. If you use it for production staging website, you can use Mailtrap. And in Mailtrap, just like any emailing, you don't. It's called fake SMTP. So SMTP. Basically, you set up the option. Let me change SMTP settings here. SMTP settings. I think it will give you here, right? In your environment.staging, for example, staging is where it looks like production, but you don't. That's not real. Production, it means someone buy your stuff, you email them, say thank you for your order. Staging is when you pretend to be that someone to buy something. Here's where you can use a fake email server, and it send the email to that mailbox instead, even though the to address is still your customer email address. So check out Mailtrap. It's a great way where everything is routed through here, and then you can test your email. And in that, here it will trap your email, right? In that, you can check out the HTML and plain text version. So let me just log into my account. You can only have one inbox, but so let's say here. So when you guys apply, right? I didn't want to send an email to you, so I just say, well, I'm going to send an email, but everything go through here. So it just look at that. I think this guy. Are you here? Yeah? No, right? This is in the Swift class, right? All right. So for example, I can see the whole thing. So it's absolutely beautiful. It's very easy to debug your email, right? Cool, right? It can even do a statistic, but if you want to do for more than one inbox, you have to pay. But for all your projects, just use one inbox. So that's cool. But I want it to be simpler, man. I don't want to check all of these places. So welcome to the third one, previewing emails. In Rails 4, finally, 4.1, Rails give you one more option. It's called previewing emails. And for the longest time, people wanted this. So what is it? It say that it's under there. You can click on it, but I'll explain. So when you generate the mailer earlier, there's a folder that it creates for you. If you use test, it will under the test folder. If you use RSpec, it's in spec folder. Under mailers and previews. Whoa, previews. So user mailer preview. Click here, and here's what it does. And a lot of Ruby magic comes into this. But if you go into this folder, it say preview all emails here at localhost Rails mailer user, right? User mailer. Nice. Command click on this guy. It takes me there. So this guy, Rails mailer, give you all the emails you have on your platform. If you click on it, it runs this class. It's a little trickier. I'll show you. It's not easy to set this up. You have to understand it. Right now, I have no argument, so it's easy. It say, okay, you have a class called notify deleted message. So it act like like both action and view. Okay, so it allows you to go here, notify, delete the message. When you go here, it run this mailer, create a mailer, and then now look, ta-da! You can do HTML and plain text. That's great, right? Now you can test this easily. And 4.1 give you that. So that's cool. But I don't want to type the same email every time. Every time I create an email, I have to type 2 mails? That's crazy. So how can I make it even easier for me? Any idea? This guy and this guy. Any idea? Well,
Yeah.
yes.
Strip the HTML text from the.
Strip, yeah, that's one idea. But are you sure it's going to look good?
We use the new lines for the p tag or here tag.
Right, so that's close to that idea is this. What if we just write our email in Markdown syntax? And the reason why Markdown is invented is said that you can write text that look like plain text, but when you display it as HTML, it will convert to HTML. That's cool. And I hope that this guy promises what it does. So that's the trick. I go to gem file, I add one more guy called mail down. There are two extensions. One is there's two gem that do this, but I'm sticking to one right now. There's another gem is called Mark ERB or something by the same guys who created device, but this one is by this guy at Heroku. It's great. So just do that. Mail down. I just finished. And what does it say? That's it. So now you just need to create a file name md.erb. Okay. So I think my dream is coming true. Instead of every time for this, I just create a new file. Let's see, app view mailer. Is it mailer? User mailer, right? Okay, so look at this guy. Notify deleted message.md.erb. This is header. So let's say alert, right? Well, unfortunately, Vim doesn't recognize that this is Markdown. Someone deleted your message on our chat room. Okay, so maybe this you have to give it a link. So now obviously you can use link to here, but that's not exactly Markdown, is it? It's HTML. So we actually say go here. So we use Markdown syntax, go here. And now I use ERB syntax in this Markdown, but it's just message URL, for example, maybe homepage, right? Root URL, and right to C. Well, because right now I don't know what message it is. So let's say I go to the chat room. Looks cool, huh? So now what happens? If I have this file, I save it. Look over here, I have a new guy. So let's go to the preview thing again. Localhost, Rails. You know how /Rails give you cool things, /Rails give you info routes. So now Rails mailers. Boom. Click here. All right, that's not working. It's still rendering this old guy. What happened? That maybe I restart this server and I reload this. Aha! So let's look at the plain text version. It looks just as good. I mean, sure, it looks like this, but the reason why Markdown is invented is that so that you still have something really user-friendly. User may not like it, but
Won't it break an outlook? Because
break what?
Won't it break an outlook? Because they're supposed to use tables.
Yeah, no, it should work. I mean, it will be just plain text. But in any of the text editor like Outlook, they don't care about the text view. They just go to this view. Yeah. So notice how you can do the URL here, and in Markdown it converted to this. So yeah, don't use link to, but use this version. It's even shorter than link to, right? Let's go here to see. That's fantastic. So that's how you preview email. Preview emails. Huh? Yes, thank you. So let's say I have a message and I want to preview exactly what that message is. Now this is a little harder. I have to go to user mailer. Now here I have to do something like what? Message user. Okay, here's a very quick thing. If you've come from a few programming languages, you may start to hate Ruby. Like, why do you just pass arguments? And what if I pass user first, message later? You know, Ruby is just, it doesn't care, right? Well, in Ruby 2.0, you can make it really clear if you want. You can use keyword argument. You can do like, you know, and it make it really clear, right? But unfortunately, not everyone doing it. It make your code a lot safer. Because right now, when you read this, right, you don't know if this is the owner of the message or the guy who delete my message, right? So hopefully, I can just say bye. That's another way. It's just a keyword. It's like a hash in the argument if you want. But for now, let's ignore that. Okay, I have two things, message and user. So hi, I don't need any of this. I need to send the email. Who do I send this to? Send it to message.user.email. Makes sense, right? Great. And what is the content of this message? Hey, someone, now this someone is easy. I can just say user.email, right? Well, I have to pass in an argument. So go back to that. How do I pass in the argument there? Do you know? Is it like this? So now it's getting really tricky. Let me start one thing at a time. Someone, it's still someone, okay? Someone. Let's say someone deleted your message. Let's preview this email. All right, are you ready? Refresh. Ta-da. What happens? It's not happy, exactly. We don't want to make Ruby unhappy. User mailer. So where do I go to fix the code, guys? We go to this preview thing right here, and it's calling without argument. So now you have to pass in an argument. So you say message dot last, right? And then you're like, okay, you know, user dot last. So if you do this, boom, it works. Someone deleted your message, and then, you know, that works, right? But let me just quickly see the variable name. Previewing email, not preview. How do I pass in mail space here? Subject. Oh, you can define the variable here. So okay, that shows you how long ago I haven't done Rails. All right. So that's great. I have a message. Awesome. Right? Actually, because Rails also changed this over time, so I'm sick of remembering it. So someone now is very easy. Someone is who? User.email deleted your message. Well, I can't show you the link to the message anymore, right? So that's not good. But I still can have the message ID. So because it's passed there, so maybe I call it. I display your message was, and then here you have to make it a little bigger. Whoops. Oh, come on, Rails, don't do that. And then here, message.content. Sounds good? Let's try it. Right? Wow, this is the message. So it's nice. You have the whole thing in context. So notice that in preview Miller, even though it's the same name, but you don't have an argument here, but you have an argument here. Now, how can you make this work? By if you want to preview a particular message of this ID, does anyone know how to do it? So to do it, I'd say, I think you can actually take a look at this, and it's under params. Unfortunately, I don't like exactly remember it. It's something like user ID here, and I'll get back to you on how this is done, and then you can just do message pass by that. So they do provide a way, but I forgot how to get it from parameter. Let's say this is preview. All right, let's see if it's here very quickly. And this, if you read this, there's another option to add CSS to your emails, but please, like, don't try too hard on this one for your final project. I don't think you have to care. Okay, so unfortunately, I kind of forget where it is right now. Now you can change the. Some of you may think that it's crazy to put that Mailer preview folder in the spec folder. Feel free to change it. You can just do rails.configuration.mailer, or you put this block config in a config block on your production.rb or development.rb. So here, go to development, and you can say config.mailer.preview emails. All right, preview path. So any question about emails? We just covered a lot of things about emails. No more question? You solve a lot of pain points with the emails, right? Yeah.
So the emails what we saw on the browser, it basically is not the sent email yet. It's just the template when you send it, right?
Yeah, okay, good. Yeah, so it's just browser testing. Now, how do we actually send an email? We need to find an SMTP server. And some of you try using Gmail before. My advice is just never use Gmail. Well, if you use your own account, that's bad, right? Gmail is going to detect that there's some crazy application trying to use your account, and at some point it's going to lock your account, and you're like, oh my god, what to do? Even if you know someone at Google, that's not going to be very fast to fix. But normally it will send you like, hey, someone try to access it, hey, I disable it. And you're like, why does it not work? I give my password here. All right, let's commit this password to my repo and push to GitHub. And 5 minutes later, someone else will have your, some bot will already check your Git repo, GitHub, and then have your password. And also Gmail just make it really hard to send an email because of the security, right, issue. So you have to say, Gmail, turn off my security protection. It say unsafe, turn on unsafe email and that crazy stuff. Well, if you do anything, just go on like SendGrid, or you just do like SMTP server, free. There's so many of them, right? And then the best ones are SendGrid, and you have like Postmark and MailJet. There's so many of them, and even Amazon provides one. It's called Amazon SMS or something like that. Amazon SES, right? Simple email, yeah, service. All of them have the same thing. What is it? SMTP settings. All of them give you enough information for you to, let me search why this is not, let's go back one level. I can't see this. Okay. Give you, okay. SMTP setting. Right, all of them give you the option to do here the basic. Yes, this one. Rails guys very good. Guys.ruby on Rails. So just go there. All of them provide things so you can do this. That's it. Even though you see Gmail here, but pick one of them. Now with Heroku, it's super simple. Just do Heroku add-on, create, SendGrid. So go to Heroku add-on, and here, for example, for this app, I'm going to do it right now. Let's do email right now. To see just how easy it is. Click on email, and I choose one of these, right? You probably don't want, okay, so which one? Okay, I choose SendGrid. That's good enough. I actually used to sit next to these guys in Boston. So, but now they're really big. So that's the name of the add-on, and it will provide you the syntax. Look at that. You go here, go to my command line, and then do Heroku add-ons, create, SendGrid, starter. And this plan is free. You can send how many? 12,000 emails a month. 400 emails a day. You can send. That's like good enough for your demo day, guys. So what happens after I do that? Create, SendGrid, setting this. It makes everything simple for you. SendGrid password, SendGrid username. So Heroku config. Boom. See this? SendGrid, where is it? Here. So that's your username and password. But now we need to use this block right here. So copy and paste this into your production. Okay? Well, you want this both. So copy and paste into your production. Right? If you forget, actually, add-ons is a wonderful thing. So let me just show you another one. Heroku add-ons docs SendGrid. And then SendGrid is like, here's how you add email to your app. And first thing is there. Second thing, just make sure you already have it. This is just to check it. And then search for the code where it say Ruby. All right. Copy and paste. Oh my God, how simple is that? Go to my Rails environment, production, and paste this in. Boom. You see, it already tell you that's the address 587, and this environment thing is from production. So you can do it without thinking at all. Just copy and paste. So this is, I just finished adding a feature called what? adding, let me just remove that push, whatever, just save everything, remove the dump file, and let's say, you know, set up email with SendGrid. So we cover everything, no excuse, your app has to have emails. So next, background processing. So here's the cool trick. The first concept of background processing is Rails has something that's called active job. It's an API for background processing, but it doesn't do the work. If you want active job to run the job in the background, you have to use a third-party app. All right, so it's either Sidekick, which is the best for Rails, just use it. But then you have to use Redis, which is another add-on. It's a database, right? It's a key value document database actually. So, but mainly just it's a key value database, and you just install your jobs. You create any job to run in the background. It just, you know, Sidekick process that, and it has a beautiful admin UI for you to see what jobs are running. One of the most painful thing about background jobs, sometimes you're like, where is it? Is it running? Is it stuck? But having an admin view built in is very good.
This is not a message queue, right?
It serves as message queue. It is very powerful. Redis also do message queue. It's a pub sub system. You can do but yeah. You understand this will just be something you can do key value. Redis, store me this key and here's the value. And that's what Sidekick used to do background processing, to store jobs. Okay, so you can make Sidekick work with active job, or you can tell Sidekick to work with Rails directly. What's the difference? If you make Sidekick work with active job, it's one line, say, active job, use Sidekick as the adapter. Right, so next day you want to change to something else. Let's say sucker punch. And then you're like, active job, use sucker punch. All right, so why do I add sucker punch here? So I'll explain one thing at a time. So active job, let's create a job that does something. Rails generate job. Let's say if I want to, at the end of the day, I want to run a background job. Maybe, what's a good background job? Yeah, just maybe this. Just say send message summary, right? When you click on the button, send a summary to me, it means show me the stats of my messages, like, you know, who are the people who like my messages. You click that button from the UI. You don't want to call the function send summary, right? Because that's a lot of work. So the browser will say, okay, thank you for your request. I just give it to my background guy. When it's done, you will get an email. Have you ever downloaded data from the web? If you go to Facebook, you can download your data. It's the same. Hey, okay, thank you. When the email is done, when the data is ready, we'll send you an email to get the data. So let's say we have to send message summary, and that's a job. So it's in here, right? Create a job, and you can implement the job. It's really easy. The basic is that now you have the job, and you can run it. Put the logic in it. So let me go to the job. There's a job folder next here. That's it. So every time you call a job now, you just say send message job dot perform. But you can perform now or perform later. So there's a perform method here. See, let's say you have a class for your job here, right? So then you can do perform later. Wow, what happened? I click and it expanded. You can do what? Okay, so perform later, right? I think you can do perform now as well. So that's the idea. So you just call it directly. It's really easy. For example, here I have a, like, you know, send an email. Even say user mailer dot send an email, right? Notify summary or something like that, and then blah blah blah. But it shouldn't be email. I'll explain why you should use other things. Okay, let's say something that take a long time, like sleep 5 seconds, right? And then you email. So you do a lot of data crunching, and then you email. So this perform thing, you can run it. You can even run it from the console. So let's just don't email, but let's say log to the screen, like put hello, right? and I say sender message job. Oh, sender message job, summary job. Is it a class? What's going on? Send message. Oh my. I need to take a break to sit closer to the screen. Message summary job. Did I type correctly? Send. Wow, that's nuts. Okay, that's really strange. But if you have it, then you can do exactly what I just said. You just run it and you can add in the arguments here. Who here know this operator? So this is called a splat operator. It means you can pass in however many arguments you want to it. So if you do perform 1, that's one argument. If you do perform 1, 2, 3, that's, it looks like 3 arguments, but this splat always convert this whole thing to be args is 1, 2, 3. Okay? So if you pass a hash, what happened? Hello, right? It's me. Then this is tricky. This can actually be hello. It's a hash here. It's me. Right? But here's another way. If you want your keyword arguments, if you're from Python, you probably know this. You do this, then automatically this is no longer true. It's split into keyword args as hello, it's me here. Alright, so that's a little on the side. You need to know Ruby a little bit, but this is okay. It just perform args. You can call it many argument. Sounds good. You can run it. It just say it here. What it means is you should change this to your own argument, man. Like, don't keep it as arg. Always do it unless you're writing meta programming and you want something really powerful. All right, so change it. Okay, so that's active job. So perform now, perform later. Isn't that similar to deliver now, deliver later?
I think behind deliver now, deliver
Exactly.
later is-
So when Rails added this active job, right? When you call deliver underscore later, it automatically call an active job. But then if you don't add any background processing, active job will also run now. It means deliver later and deliver now is the same thing right now. Because you haven't told me how to do it later. So, okay, let's do it later. We have to use one of these two guys. If I use Sidekick, it means I have to install Redis server. So on your local machine, then you have to run, install on Mac, you will like brew, install Redis server. This create a Redis server. And then, with Rails, now you install Sidekick and it can connect to the server at this port 6379. Okay? So that's set Redis. But you're like, oh my god, that's a lot of work. Well, here's a simpler one. Sucker Punch. And the cool thing about Sucker Punch is like, okay, if you're really lazy, you use something like Sucker Punch, what happens? When you need to do background processing, Rails just create a new thread and do it concurrently. So your main thread still go back to your UI and return you the thing, and then Rails like, okay, I just copy and then do the job in the background. This is not good for something that does a long running task. It just split itself and then go there for you. So, but it's quite cleverly implemented, and it can only work when you run a multi-threaded server. WebRick is not one. WebRick is a single process, single thread server. If you use Puma, then it's a multi-threaded, multi-process server. Single process as well. You Puma Jungle, then it's multi-process. But the idea is with Sucker Punch, it's beautiful. The syntax is a little different if you use it directly, but if you use it with active job, then you can just call the perform now, perform later. So you can go in there and look. So here's how you do it, and then the cool thing is now you can call perform later, and you can even tell it like how much later, right? There's a timer how much later. So. And then you can have different priority queue. Important jobs are run first. Not important jobs are run later. Okay? Alright, so we cover background processing. That's crazy. We taught like so many concepts in just 1 hour. Next, deployment. So as I mentioned, this is cool. You can use with cyclic, then you have to use a Reddit. Go here, search for Redis, and it says data store, and this is good. One of these guys is good for you, and usually Reddit clouds, they're probably the easiest. Look for the one with a free plan, and then you have it. Okay, use Sidekick, you're safe. And after if you use Sidekick, you have a beautiful view. If you use Sucker Punch, if your job doesn't run, good luck. You cannot see anything there. So that's the difference. Okay, it'll look like this. It's beautiful, isn't it? And you can see what job has been run, and it's here. If you use Rails from 10 years ago, there are all these things called delayed jobs, Beanstalk. Beanstalk is still around, and one of our partners, actually, the guy who wrote it, but it's Sidekick is best here. It's easiest. Any questions about background processing? No? Well, okay. Next, who here wants to deploy to some other place other than Heroku? Boo. How do you deploy your app? Okay, just like development. And do you run Rails server -b 00000 like what we did last time in class? Okay. Well, obviously, you don't want that when you deploy your app. You want it to run in production mode. And it's tricky. When you run in production mode, Heroku takes care of a lot of things for you. It may seem simple, but it compiles all your JavaScript file, CSS file into one file, minify it, uglify it, and then you basically and then it gives you a fingerprint string so that when you compile again, there's a different string so that it doesn't hit the same string and make the mistake. On localhost, it always compiles on the fly. Well, it's smarter than that. It will cache, and if you make changes to your JavaScript file, it recompile. So if you deploy yourself, let's see, if I go to localhost right now, sometimes you see it, but sometimes you don't. I think automatically now, when you run Rails, one of the gem already choose not to display it. But if you look at the network request, right? Where is it? Network request. And I load this again. You see how many requests has been sent to the server. It's insane. These, right? On production, these guys are all squished into one, but locally, this is the fingerprint of the file, and then it just run here. And it's very fast locally, but you don't want to run this on your production server because, you know, Nginx, Apache, you said it, you can only take so many requests per second. Even though it's small, these things are small, but it adds up. So you want it to be all squished in production mode. So there are a lot of steps to do that. SSH into the server, copy the code over there, compiling, right? Making sure your database is up to date. Capistrano is the easiest tool. Of course, it's so much magic that you may love or hate it, and you don't want this web-based bullshit. But oops, sorry, it's on the video. So basically, when you add follow the instructions, super easy. You have the SSH information, SSH to the server, and boom, it's done. And some people hate it because it's too much magic. And then there's another guy that does this called Mina. And Mina it takes a different approach, and you can check it out. And I only advise you to do this when you have a very mature project later on. The difference with Mina is that it converts what you have to do into a bash command, and it run the bash on your server. Okay? Capistrano is a list of tasks, just like regtask, the same as regtask. Capistrano 3 run, syntax is the same, but every time you run one Capistrano task, it send over SSH and it say, hey, you know, do this. And then it's very slow and it's inefficient. But don't worry, it works for everyone. It's still beautiful. And only do this if you're like, okay, I want something clean and nice, but everything has pros and cons. I say You should only use Mina if you've used Casper Standard for a while and you hate it. And I still love it, so this is still better, right? Save you a lot of time. Okay, and setting up your SSH server, the keys, right? You set the SSH key. You don't want to do using SSH to a server using password. You want to use it with your computer key, and everything works smoothly. Any question about deployment? Sorry, deployment's very short because you should use Heroku. Boo, it's like, what? I waited all day for this? Okay, well, we can talk more. Feel free to ask me a question. I can write a big guide. All right, let's do the next one. This one is really interesting. Has anyone used Papertrail? You have used it? Do you like it? It's okay. Let's see, right? Papertrail, one more time. You go to Papertrail. These are the logging thing, and I use Papertrail. It works well, so you don't have to think. I'd recommend that. Add this guy to your, I already added it, I think, right? So when you do this, what happens, right? It adds, already added it, awesome. Here's the cool thing. So you can do add-on, open Papertrail. Who knows? Well, you can go to Heroku dashboard, click on your app, and then click on Papertrail add-on. But here's the cool thing. Everyone should use this because it's fantastic, right? So it can send you anything that matches any error text, but you can set it to send anything that match a text. Let's say error, or the log mentioned some name, send it to Slack. There's so many integration. I say don't email me. That's okay. Here's your log of the server. After you use Papertrail here, you don't have to use Heroku logs tail anymore. And what's bad about Heroku logs tail? Does anyone know? It's not forever, right? It's like you can only see the last how many thousand lines. After that, it's all gone, forever gone. So that's what if someone put in your order, enter some important data, and then you'll create a document. It send a submit, right? Send a message, right? Message is not important, but someone create a document and hit post, and your server crash. And you're like, oh, no worry, let me just go to my Heroku logs. I can't find it because it's yesterday. But now with Papertrail, you have it. You can search by IP address of the people you visit, who visit you, and you can do a lot of cool things here. It's just standard log format. And when you find it, you can actually find the chat message or the string, for example. Let's go to Heroku, go to school Ruby here. So I say, of course, password, right? It's censored. So, let me just sign in to chat. Say I sign up as Whoops. I hate the 8 characters limit. All right. Now, notice in here, when you create a user, there's also its password is filtered, okay? And it's cool here, right? You can still see all the log like usual. But now you have it. You have the good habit of looking into your log. And for your production, sometimes you may want to disable this mode to show SQL query. I'll say don't worry about it, right? Until your app becomes really busy. Hello, what on earth is this, right? Right? And here should be automatic. I don't know why it's taking so long. Sorry, because we print the data sent to the client, so it took a while. But somewhere, what on earth is this? It's like up there. Oh my God, this is great. Hard to see, huh? So you can find it. So here, example. What? And enter. That's crazy. This is how fast it is, right? And you know exactly, that person say, oh, I placed an order on your website. I forgot when. Well, you go to the log and I say, oh, you placed an order at, well, you have to figure out what time this is. But this is the Vietnam time. Yeah, 6:30, 31. No, it's not Vietnam time. I was like, I have 3 more hours to teach. No, I have 30 minutes to teach. Okay, so you see, are you convinced Papertrail is useful? You can create all these different filter. You set up a filter to go to Slack. You save the search and send it to your Slack. It integrate with a lot of places. If you just search for anything that say error, then you can search for that and then send a summary email to your mailbox. All right. So that is logging. It's very quick to mention.
If I have a server,
Yep.
is there any way that I can manage my error? A live server, not
Yeah, Heroku. Yeah, so the same thing. Papertrail allow you to customize that. It's easy, but it's not for you to monitor your error. That's just a hack way. It's very fast. Search for the error string. When you have an error, you want to do more than that. It's like what function is it called? What's the call stack? What's the backtrace? It's like, oh crap. All right, that's next. It means error monitoring. So if you submit your code on, follow our, organization and then repo, if it's public, you can use this for free. But I use something like, let's say, Rollbar is all of them one more time. It's so beautiful. If you just have Heroku, you can focus on doing things that matter. Error reporting, and I pick one right here. Right, you have all of these. They're all the same in terms of purpose. It intercepts when Rails throws an exception. It stores that. It intercepts that. It rescue that, and then it sends an email. Well, it's more like it sends an HTTP request to their server to store the data, and then it throw back the exception one more time. So it's just something in the middle, just like your rack. Remember the rack middleware? Just like that. So I use Rollbar free. And let's try to crash the code so I can see that, right? Rollbar free. And notice, like any API, you need these. That's why Heroku add-on create is so wonderful, because it set all of this for you. Heroku config, just to have an idea. Now, your question is, if you don't use Heroku, you just need to manage these values yourself. Don't push it to your code, right? No, not on GitHub, please. But, these two things are not as important, sure, but SendGrid is important. This one is not important, the API endpoint. This one, if someone has it, they will send error to your website and then use up your usage, right? If they send a lot of data, you won't pay much money, but that's up to you what is safe and what's not safe. Great. So then you search for Rollbar API. So any of this, there's a, let's see, I do docs Rollbar. And you can test with Ruby on Rails. You have to install this in your gem file. Right? Run bundle. And you can test this. So let's see. Oh, you have to also generate. But this is one of the best. It's easy to use, except it's not free after 1,000 events. So if you start having a lot of errors in your app, you ignore them. Right? Every time a user sends a request, there's an error, then good luck to you. You can only store the last 1,000 messages before. Okay, so what it does is it set up this Rollbar file. So it's under initializer Rollbar, and this is just to show that it's really simple, right? It get the access token, and the library will know how to push to the Rollbar server and store your error. So what kind of error is it? Well, for example, you can run rake Rollbar test. Now I have the key, and let's see what's going on here. Rake Rollbar test. It's supposed to create an error, so let me just quit this whole thing. Is it successful? Undefined. Uh-oh. Oh, it doesn't have the key. So that's not work good. It doesn't have the key for my local environment. So if I want to do it, I have to get it from my local machine. So here, for example, right? I'm going to show you how to hack this. Ask question if this part is not clear. I cannot post my error to Rollbar yet if something happened in my Rails stack locally, because it doesn't know the key. So here's the way I hack it. Config access token. I can create another key, but I can just paste the key in here. So what's my key, guys? Just now, right? Heroku. This is bad, okay? You should actually get a different key. But in this case, if you have a key that you don't care, you post it in here, your friend can share this key, right? But on production, on the real side, staging production, you can overwrite this key with a different value. Okay, great. So that's one way to set the key. Another way, obviously, is to do export, row bar, access token. You set the key there, right? Some of you like to do it. It's actually, if you set everything under this secret thing, every time you have to share, you have the value. All right, so I do that. And I say try one more time. Rake row bar test. Now it has the key. It doesn't have the endpoint, isn't it? What does it say? Split. It's wrong in. So I need to set it up properly in this line 2. Okay, no problem. Let's go there. It's in row bar dot RB, right? Initializer row bar. Not sure what's going on there. It's like I haven't set it up properly for local. So if you push to Heroku though, it's enough to. I'm going to push to Heroku anyway. Git add. I'm not sure why I have this guy. Okay, git add row bar. Right. Let's just remove that. I don't want to push this to GitHub by mistake. I'm preaching that with that app. No, config initializer row bar. Let's remove this guy. Whoops. Oh, what's wrong with me? I can't see. Okay. All right. So add row bar. If you know how to, okay. Here's another trick. How do you push to Heroku from your branch? This is not a master branch. Boo, have you pushed to Heroku before? No? Oh, man, now you have to learn, man. Heroku only have one branch. Git remote. Okay, only one branch, master branch. If you do git push Heroku master, if you're on master, it's pushing the master branch there and it's deploy. Done. How do you put this lecture 5 start branch to Heroku? Does anyone know? Lecture 5 start :master. So that's like from branch A into branch B somewhere else. But what if your branch name is extremely long? At some point, let's say I create a new branch. So git check out dash branch. This is a very usefully named branch. So that's my branch name. And now I'm like git push Heroku. This is, well, if your terminal is smart, you can do that. How do you do that? If you push to GitHub, just branch to GitHub, you know, right? It's the same thing. Git push origin, what? This is blah blah, right? So there's a shorter way. Just type head. And head just point to this exact guy. So you don't, for Heroku it's like that. For GitHub it's just like this. Because GitHub gives you multiple branches. Excellent. So blah 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 blah. I get an error. I think just row bar gem is, so when you run into a problem like that, you're like, okay, what is the gem version? Something is going on. So you check this guy, version 2.8.3. So that's the reason why it's failing, guys. The documentation is bad. So I go to gem file, and you see what the a huge difference it is. This old version used a different API, right? And I'm pretty confident that's the reason why our code has been crashing, even on Heroku. Okay? So, but once you have that, it's great because you know how you have this, you go into this blah, and then that's routing error, that's 404 error. On Heroku, you don't see this. You see the 404 page. But if you go to something that crash, so let's create one thing that crashed. Let's just crash homepage. Let's crash homepage right here. Boom, right? right? So when you crash, homepage, this is a 500 error, right? This 500 error is what Rollbar is good at. It gives you this whole stack trace and everything. You can send you an email. It can create an issue on GitHub. Everything, right? So you can use the better error gems locally, but don't ever do that on production. And here, Rails give you these nice things because, where, let's say self, what am I? Oh my God, it's a big object. It's gonna be super big. Okay, slow. But yeah, you don't have this on production. On production, the only thing you have is just a 500 error page. That's why you need roll bar. Is it clear? Back in .NET and PHP, really old days, if you use the old version, it split the whole invalid code on the screen, and you can this guy has bad code. But now you never display code or anything, right? It's not safe. All right, so that's error monitoring. New Relic and Skylight. Has anyone used this guy, performance monitoring? Yeah. So when you add it, then you can go to New Relic and then you can see how long it takes for each request. And the New Relic will send you an email every night, every week, and show you the color on your calendar, how busy your website is. And it's beautiful. And how long it takes, a millisecond, and you're like, oh, Rails, it doesn't run that fast, but it looks like my user is having a fantastic experience. All green. It's not the fastest server out there, for sure. But yeah, I mean, Rails is one of the reasons New Relic started out, right? Just like Heroku, just for Rails, by guys who are just really good at Ruby and Rails. And then now they do everything for everywhere, like for all the platforms. They become the biggest. GitHub is the same thing, right? GitHub also just built on Rails, and then they just decide that, okay, we just support everything. So with New Relic, I really recommend it if once you start having users. Skylight is for people who look at New Relic is like, oh my God, there's so much information. I hate looking at this. Then you're like, okay, use Skylight. It just gives you very basic information built by Yehuda Katz and his team. It's the team that built MERP, which then merged into Rails, make Rails 3.0. His big deal. And then he did also Ember.js. And so cool. I mean, that's great. Skylight is reliable, but it also costs money. It's only free for if you do a pay-as-you-go plan, free for a few things. Just use New Relic. It's free. It's just like Heroku. It's like Heroku for performance monitoring, basically. All right, continuous deployment. If you have tests, then you set up a continuous testing server and all these statuses. If you do that on your project, in your final project, mention it, right? Show off. When you create a pull request on GitHub, you can configure it to automatically run and then show a check mark next to your pull request, blah, blah, blah. But hey, for your project, do the simplest thing that works, which is one of them is this. Every time you push to GitHub, it automatically push to, if you push to master, it push to Heroku. Okay, that sounds good. Then you have that, it's called the production server. Okay, you should set up another Heroku server. It's called the, what do you call it? Test server or staging server, okay? Now here's the trick. How do you create another server? That's the trick. And a lot of us actually don't know this. You know how you have git push Heroku master? And when you're on master branch, I don't want to stay at this branch. Lecture 5. All right, go back to this branch. The best way for those who don't care, just keep one server. When you push to GitHub master, it automatically push to Heroku. Done. Now, if you want it, you can also set it to only push when your tests pass. Okay? But let's say I need a staging server. Here's what I do. First, I have to decide what this Heroku means. I can actually rename it. I call my production server. That's okay, right? So I can say git this. I can rename this git remote. How do you rename a thing, guy? Rename Heroku production. Now look at this. production. So when you deploy to Heroku, now you have to do git push production master. No longer git push Heroku master, okay? All right, what if I want a staging server? A staging server. So, so first I have to create another app. So if I do this, Heroku will be like, well, create another app. Let's see what it does. That's okay. You can push here, and then you can check it. Heroku. So I can have my other app now, git rename, remote rename this second app, Heroku, as staging. And again, staging, you copy data from production to staging. You do whatever you want with it on staging. Your production data is still good. So now I do git push staging master, right? So let's say lecture 5 start :master. But there's one problem. What's the problem? It's a small inconvenience. The data is not on staging. Yeah? And there's another problem. All my add-ons on my production app is not on this staging guy. Right? What's the solution, guys? Anyone? So I'll show you this because it's very important. After we finish deployment, right, it will know that this staging now is another Heroku app with the Rails server on it. Only after you finish pushing for the first time, you can run Heroku rake db migrate Heroku blah blah blah, right? Now here's another problem. I'm getting rejected because this robot gem is messing with this entire thing. So this instruction is not correct. So let me just pick one that works with, let's say, go back to the previous. So right now, what is in here? Robar. Oh, I didn't commit this. That's why. Update. Robar. But I don't trust this branch, right? So I'm going to push something cleaner. So update that. Let me just push this branch. I'm going to go back to this branch right here. Set up email with SendGrid. So git check out that branch. And I'm like, I'll just check out a different branch. Temp. Don't worry about this. All it means is that right now I'm on temp. Okay, I can go back to that branch. But I git push staging temp master. And this time it will be very fast. Now, let me explain the differences between staging and production. I can only do that after this is done. So, Heroku config. When you do this now, what happens? Heroku does not know what app you are trying to do. Look, right? Multiple apps. Here's the cool thing. If you remember the name of the app, you can always do Heroku-app, -a or -app. But that's very hard to remember in your brain. You work from one project to another. Here's a better way. Remote, and then the name of your GitHub. Not GitHub, your Git remote. Okay? Here, for example, I can do Heroku config, list out all the config of my production app. How do I do that? I have to remember my code school Ruby 4. That's really long, right? Of course, you can do, again, this is just bash, right? You can do app equal. It's the same thing. Actually, that's not equal. Just that. But all that. See, it's successful. See, rollbar was definitely because of the wrong version. So let's go home and submit a pull request on Heroku and say, hey, you guys, doc is out of date. All right, so here, a faster way is to just do R production. Beautiful. When you have more than one Heroku app, it gives you a lot of power. You can do data from one place to another. So look at that. That's my production. Let's do staging, okay? Staging. Ready? Oh, come on. I don't have any of the things above. Right? So that's the inconvenient thing. And then you have, of course, one way is to do all the Heroku. Now what do? Add-ons. Create. paper trail, and then you don't know what the plan name is, like choke block or some weird stuff. And then of course you can find it in your history. Grab paper trail. Oh, it's not even there. So just like, okay, there must be a better way. So it's called Heroku. I think it's called fork. So you can fork from production app. There's like a from, my goodness. So it's like from Code School for Ruby 4. Whoa, what's going on? So let's turn to Google. Heroku fork. Forking an application, right? I think something like Heroku. If you just don't know, clone production to staging. When you do this, it will give you some cool cool stuff. And pipeline is a new another concept. You can set the whole thing to be automatic. It has to run on pipeline. It has to run. Everything works there, and then it automatically bring the changes from from staging to production. But we don't do that. We just do this fork thing. All right. So what is it doing? Any add-ons will be also added. So what's the syntax? From and to. So this guy is crazy. So I just do to whatever Ruby 4. Does it work? Hey, so that's cool. All these are free plans, free add-ons, and then it just start doing it, right? And then you see that how these add-ons are being migrated over to the other app. What happens now? I have 3 apps on my Heroku when I do Heroku something. Let's look at this guy. Git remote, one more time, verbose, right? This is not done yet. When it's done, I have another thing called Heroku here, hopefully. Where is it? Okay, it's doing it. So that's how it becomes super fast for you to clone another app, right? I think Heroku for complete, and now you have this running on this side. That's super beautiful. So I don't think it does it do that? So here's another interesting problem to have. Heroku fork help you create an app that is exactly like your production app. You create a name for it, copy all the add-ons, but I don't know how to push to it. Right? So how do you do it? How do you push to it? Of course, right? So does it actually say somewhere? You can actually go to Heroku dashboard, apps, whatever Ruby 4, and you get the Git. Of course, you can guess it from the command line. How hard is it, right? But if you really don't want to guess, you're feeling sleepy, all the add-ons are here. Remember, you can click on them, but you can use Heroku add-on open. You're feeling sleepy, go here, get the Git URL. Again, you can just look at this. And then Git remote add. I'll call this my staging 2 server, stack 2 server, right? Git remote add, and then you add this. Boom. So that's how you deploy to the stack. Yeah? Git push stack. And now you can have a team of 4 people, and each one have one Heroku endpoint, and you can push to them. And then later it will be, guys, can we have a meeting to discuss which Heroku app to use? Right? So we cover that. And I actually have just a few more minutes. I cover this extremely cool thing. Wow, this is a successful lecture. If you guys think about it, we covered like the concept that normally it takes like a month to learn, and then we learn everything in 2 hours. All right, performance testing. So, well, it's not much to it. In Rails, you do something like find user.find params user ID, and then you do like user.messages, right? And then sometimes you do go to the view and say user.messages.each, right? And then in partial, sometimes you also do user.unseen messages. So this is why they say only load the variables in the controller, okay, if you can. If you create too many instant variables, that's crazy too, right? if your page is slow and it looks like you have like 10 different SQL queries, you can do better, right? So how to know that? This is less important, okay? Like, make an app that works. It can be slow and everything. Just ask a smart guy to sit with you. If you pretend I'm a smart guy, I can sit with you and optimize the query for you, right? But don't worry so much. However, you can install something like Bullet, and then by now I cannot find. All right, see, pretty good, and it help you tune your performance by avoiding like calling a lot of unnecessary SQL queries. How does it work? I think you can actually look at some example. Come on, sample. All right, here. All right, so you have like a post with comments. You see how this is dangerous? You have like, you load in the controller. In your controller, you have like, you load the number of posts. But in your partial, you load the comments. So now when you render a partial, it's just like, oh, select star from comments, where comments.post_id is this current post ID. That's when this bullet gem, if you use it, it'll tell you, hey, dude, come on, man. You can be smarter than that. So when you add bullet, it will tell you like, hey, right? It will give you a pop-up and say, dude, like, why don't you just load everything at once? Load all the posts, it means popular posts, for example, and then load all the comments that have the post ID that's in this list of post ID. So if you load 10 post ID is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10, then you just load select star from comments where post ID is in that list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's one query. It's so much faster. So that's the idea. And if you do that, then all this alert, will disappear, and then you will, right? This is how you fix your code. You load the post, but hey, please also load the comments for you. This is called eager loading. And actually, Guan, you're already using preload. So that's like,
What's the difference?
right? I think preload means, I looked it up the other day, but I don't have a good explanation for it. But usually it's just eager loading, and then in that concept there's preload in it. So I don't want to try and then have a stupid explanation. Yeah.
Close, reload, and something.
Yeah, something else. But so the most important here is, if you do this, it gives you this beautiful query in 1 and 2 instead of this. And so over time your app becomes slow. Partly this is one of the fastest way to optimize your app. It's like, okay, I just load things early. Right? You can Google that for more information. This is nice to have, and you can start having it right away. Let me just do the gem, this one, right? This is putting it in your Rails app very quickly, and you just see like, oh my god, it's so beautiful. But I'll just go to lecture 5, where we are right now, and gem file. Okay, run bundle. Where's my Rails server? Let's just restart this server very quickly. Okay, it's there. Great. Oh, is bundling not working? Oh wait, it's over there. Well, if you run bundle and you have a lot of, sometimes if you want like 4 different processes running it, you can do bundle jobs for. Okay, so Rails server, and I think if you go to, let's say, go to homepage, right? Don't raise an error. Now my localhost, and I don't see what I have yet. So let's look at the log. Here are the things I'm doing. I select the user, I do a few things, and some is cached, so you don't have any problem with it. But I want to show you this gem. How do I add it? All right. In initializer, create a file. By now you know, just put it anything that, right, you want to run when Rails start the server. I create a new initializer. So config initializer whatever. So you name it rect profiler.rb, and then you copy this code. Please do not run it on production, but you can run it on staging. Oops. All right, Rails. So you can do, like, next time you can do, this is the same thing as this, but this is too much magic and people start hating it. They overwrite the string, you know. So this is better, very clear. You can do, and then you run the server. One more time. Let's see. Are you ready? Down. 344 millisecond second. And you click here, you can see how much time it's taken to find each message to render time, SQL time. You can click in this guy and see exactly what query they are. And over time, it also run explain query on your SQL. Like if you need to find all messages for some user, but you didn't index the user ID column, it will know, right? If you start to find all the user grouped by some property, then you will know, right? So that's cool. If you see this, it's super powerful. When this first came to Ruby, actually, I was so excited. I actually wrote, I did a few, at first it was from the .NET world, so I actually made a gem for it. But like back then, but somewhere like mini profiler, and then to convert it to Ruby, and contributed some code to this guy. But obviously, like, you know, not the hard part, but it's awesome. Right. So, any question about the lecture today? Now you can have your halftime break. It's in the video. So the trick is, you know, you go back and click speed it up like 2 times as fast, and then eat your instant noodle. It's like, this part I didn't know, so like you can pause and then speed it down. So anyway, stopping.